For people who want to know what is the Keith Andrew Network, the whole point of my talk show is to show you that even with having a learning disability, I can still amount to something. And at the same time, I'm able to turn myself into an example for people out there dealing with any types of learning disabilities and disabilities to never give up and prove people wrong. Prove to them that labels do not dictate who you are and who you're going to be. To prove them, you can still amount to something.
I was just interviewed by the KeithAndrewNetWork show, who is doing a fantastic job at making everybody realise that it doesn't matter what you go through in life, you can always achieve your dreams, just as long as you work hard for it, and it was an absolute pleasure to be on the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Keith Andrew, and you're watching the Keith Andrew Network. We're here with a beautiful guest today, live from across the ocean, from the United Kingdom. Thank you for joining us on this great day.
Thank you for having me.
Now the honor is all mine. For people who want to know a little about the show, it is PG-13, but you do have the right to say anything you want, talk about anything you want, freedom of speech, self-expression, and you're supporting a good message and making a new friend out of it. What's the first thing I want to ask you is tell our audience a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm from Essex, UK. I'm an aspiring actress. I've actually got 3 credits to my name so far. Tough business, but got quite a few good contacts that have helped me out. And I've actually got my first premiere on June the 11th. So other than acting, I love songwriting. There's not really a lot to tell.
Absolutely. Don't mind me, I was trying to adjust myself because as people are watching on the screen, we have a special background. But as for us right now, talking, it's just a black screen. So I'm just trying to angle myself so I'm centered. So when I do the editing, it doesn't cut any of us off.
Yeah, that's fine.
So the next one I want to ask you is what attracted you to start your career as an actress?
Well, I've battled through quite a lot throughout my whole life, and acting's always been a release, and it's just watching something and being able to draw back from it, especially when it highlights like specific like taboo subjects that's really difficult for some people to talk about, and it was kind of my way of having a voice. And that's the reason, well, one of the many reasons as to why I fell in love with acting and I started pursuing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's for me, I just got tired of using my disability as a crutch, for a long time. I call it the boomerang. You throw it. I don't have to do this. I don't have to do that. People feel sorry for me, And when it comes back in the opposite direction, you whack yourself upside the head, realizing just labeled yourself as an influence, but you just said you're not able to do anything and you expect things to be handed to you. So it's kind of like you can't have it both ways. You say, yeah, I have a disability, I don't have to do this. But at the same time, if you want to say you want to be an actor, you want to be in the entertainment world, you just said you can't do certain things. So it's really good not to label yourself.
Yeah, no, you've got to definitely in this industry, you've got to work really hard. Like even when you have contacts, people think it's so easy when you have the contacts, but it's really not, because you've still got quite a lot of the other elements where you just have to keep on going, despite getting knocked down so many times.
No, you bring up a good point. It's about people who you know, but you can know thousands of people, but if you don't have, I don't know, the work, even if you do have the work, now, wink, wink, the work, you can't act your way out of a wet paper bag. I always wanted to be a wrestler. I can't wrestle myself out of a wet paper bag. So it doesn't matter if you have the work. If you can't connect with the audience, if you're not being 100% real, generic, people are going to see right through it.
Yeah. So
So
you've
the
got to
next,
practice every day at your craft, every day, just to make sure that you can build that. And
no, you're absolutely right. So next one I want to ask you, question number 2, what is the biggest change you want to make in your acting career?
right now, the biggest change for me is getting an agent. It's not easy. And I actually recently heard back from an agent, and it wasn't the fact that they didn't want me, it's the fact that they had somebody else already like me on their casting, which was an absolute bummer. But right now for me, it's just getting an agent and keep on practicing, keep on going, and just kind of trying to build a basis where I can go from there.
No, you bring up a good subject that I mentioned a while ago, but I want to ask you because you bring it up. Do you, or it's not really an argument, but do you or do you not pay someone to represent you?
No. So the thing is, this is one thing that I see come up a lot, and people tend to get, especially newbies, they get drawn in and they fall for it. The only thing that you should pay for is spotlight. And a genuine agent, the main thing they'll get you to pay for is your spotlight, your and headshots. You should never ever pay an upfront fee to agents. They only take commission. The way they get paid is by making sure you get paid to put you in for the work. And it's so annoying seeing how many scams there are out there. And it's not people's fault, because if you like don't have the lack of knowledge in the industry, or you haven't gone down like the typical route of going through all the training, like a lot of newbies, they will fall into the trap, unfortunately. And it does suck, and I hate seeing it, but I was lucky and fortunate enough to have all the training and to have the contacts. So I've had this drilled into me for years now, that you never ever pay an agent up front, ever. And 9 times out of 10, an agent will get you to go and get your own headshots and spotlight anyways. And some agents won't take you on unless you've already got the headshots and the spotlight. So it just depends on what agency you go for. But the number one thing is never, ever pay an agent.
No, you're right. On Facebook and especially on Instagram, there's always this guy or a woman that says, "Oh, you want to be featured on Fox? You want to be featured on
Yeah.
any hit TV shows? Give me 15 seconds. I'm, whatever. I give it. What do I have to lose? Have conversation." But it's funny because they all have in common. Do you have a book? Something I've been wrestling with. Like, I have talk show. How I overcame, all this drama with disabilities. But I like to be on TV more. I'm like, well, if you want to be on TV more, you have to have a book first. But it's funny that everyone that I come across always says the same thing. You have to have a book, or you have to have a gimmick that makes you different. Well, I have a disability and I'm on
Yeah.
the spectrum of being retarded. So how different do you want me to be? But
Exactly. It's picking it out, because like the agent has to brand you. They have to make sure that they're marketing you properly,
right.
like properly. And it goes back to what I'm like said before. They don't get paid until you get paid. So they have to make sure that they can put you for the jobs and get you, like, at least know that you can book the jobs they're putting you for, even if it's like one out of like the 10 or 20 auditions they get you. They need to know you can book jobs. And this is the thing, and it's very difficult to get an agent, and it's very difficult. It takes a lot and it takes a lot of knocks as well to be able to finally get booked with an agent. Like, I've applied for 5, 6 now, and all rejected me. But as I said like earlier, sometimes it may not even be to do with the fact of your skills. An agent might actually want to take you on, but they've already got somebody similar to your casting type, and that's the only reason why they've rejected you. And it is very difficult. It's like, it just, a lot plays into it, and I don't think people realize how much actually plays into it. There are some people that are lucky where an agent will go and see a show and then they'll get booked with an agent then, or they'll come across their reel somewhere and they'll get booked like that. But quite a lot of the time you have to put yourself out there and you have to put yourself forward, and you can't be afraid of the rejection, because otherwise you're not going to get anywhere. So regardless of whether an agent rejects you or not, just keep applying. And that's the best probably advice that I can give. Just keep on applying, keep on applying.
Well, if you know any good websites, we can definitely recommend it to our viewers.
Yeah, I got a link that I can send over. It's I believe it's called the PMA list. And on that list, it's a whole list of agents. This is in the more UK based. I wouldn't know about America, but definitely in the UK, there's a whole list where you've got all the agents on there, and every single agent on this list, it's 100% genuine, because they have to be in the game for quite a while to get onto this list, and they have to meet the criteria. So I will definitely send that link over to you, because it's a good list to have.
Well, you mentioned a funny question. You mentioned you have to be in the game for a while. So, say for someone like me, do you think I've been in the game for a while?
Well, it all depends. Like, everybody says about being in the game for a while, but the thing is, if it's awkward because you have to meet certain criteria for certain things, like Spotlight, you have to meet a certain criteria for that. But there are some agencies out there that are looking for new faces to build them up so they can be attached to that name. So it's difficult. It's tricky. There are quite a lot of agents out there that do prefer you to have experience, so they know that you work well on set. But it's really awkward. It depends on the agency. And what the agency's requirements is, because each agency is different. So each agency will have their specific, like, oh, we're looking for this or we're looking for that. So it's just finding the right agency for you and where you are in your career.
Oh, absolutely. Hashtag absolutely. So next one I'm going to ask you two questions, number 4 and 5. So the first one is number 4. What are some of the best career highlights that you have, and how comfortable are you speaking in front of a group of people?
Speaking varies, because I've got mental health issues. So my confidence, I can be on top of the world one day, and then the next day I will literally just have no confidence. Biggest thing is like trying to shake the nerves, build up your confidence. That's like the biggest one, and the best way is trying to put yourself in situations that you usually be uncomfortable with, and just try and get yourself out of your own little box. But my highlights of my career, I've got my most recent one is Best Geezer, which is actually being launched on the 11th of June for its world premiere in Southend. My first ever TV show, which hasn't been released yet, is Happy Hours. That was my first time ever being on set, and it was such a lovely cast, such a lovely crew. Same with Best Geezer. I couldn't fault it. Crazy bunch, but it was absolutely hilarious. But I think the biggest ones is probably when I first ever went on stage. It's not really professional credit, it was more within my college, but I think that's the first moment I proved to myself that I could do it. And that confidence comes later, sort of thing. Like, it's something that you just have to build on and work up on. So that the biggest highlight for me is when I actually performed at National Theatre.
Absolutely. So the next two I want to ask is, how comfortable are you teaching other people what you know, and what is your claim to fame?
So teaching other people, I like to stick to my own experiences and what I already know. So if you've got like 20 credits, there's no point in coming to me, because I'm at the very beginning stage of my career. But if you're looking for advice like how to stay on top of things, or like basic advice for the very beginning of your career, that is the sort of advice that I wouldn't mind offering. But because, as I said, if you've got 20 credits, there is literally no point in coming to me, because you're already like far ahead of what I already am. And what did you mean by claim to fame, please? Sorry.
Oh, your claim to fame. I was like, what is the one thing that you would say you're famous for?
Um, I don't really think anything at the moment. As I said, I'm very like early stages in my career. I think, I don't know.
Well, for an example, for me, my claim to fame will be, I guess, my talk show. I've been doing this for 10 years, 10 and a half years. I can say that now. 1,035 episodes, thanks to you. I met people from not like main actors, but I got extras from Blue Bloods, Criminal Minds, and Young and the Restless, General Hospitals, Hawaii Five O. Trying to think without hurting myself, and that's not a name of the show, by the way.
That's a lot.
And there's so many former professional wrestlers. Um, there's people with disabilities, people without disabilities. So it's pretty much everything. So someone would ask me, what's my claim to fame? No one has ever asked me that. I would say probably my show, turn myself into an example for people with and without disabilities. If you have the heart and passion to do what you love, you should go out and turn yourself into an example. So 10 and a half years, 1,035 episodes. I know people like, hey, is he famous? Is he paparazzi? No, well, people don't know who the hell I am. But it's, I don't know, that's a cap in your own feather, if that makes any sense. It gives you a self-confidence saying, hey, this is what I did, and you can't take this away from me.
Yeah, I think if that's the case, then it's probably definitely the very most like 2022 is kind of where I started getting a foot into the door with my career. So Happy Hours, the D-Bit experience I done, Best Geezer. So those are probably, they're my biggest projects so far.
No,
But I'm
absolutely.
hoping to do more.
The reason I asked double questions is because these questions are very short. So if something was like long-winded, I wouldn't ask you a follow-up question right
Yeah,
afterwards.
that's
But
fine.
so these questions are like that's very short and to the point. So the next one is 7 and 8. 7 is actually I asked you about when I asked you what your claim to fame is. Number 8, it's similar. What are you sorry, disability. What are you most likely to become famous for, and who do you admire?
Um, what am I most likely to become famous for? I think if I was actually, and if anything in my career that I was going to become really famous for, it would probably more than likely be dramatic scenes. I don't do comedy. I'm not really the comedic type. Like I can be when I'm like with my mates and I'm fooling around with my mates or my partner. But when it comes to more dramatic scenes, like I relate more, and I think that's reason why that's my strongest point of view in my career. So I think if I was going to ever get famous for anything, it will probably be like a dramatic series or a dramatic film or something along them lines. And person that I admire the most, if we're talking about non-acting sense, that would be like my dad's, my parents, like my friends, the typical like usual people, basically, because my dad's always been my number one supporter. my mum has helped me through so much. Like literally, she has fought every single battle for me growing up when I was battling the system. And my friends have just been my rock through everything. Actor sense, the person that I admire the most is a friend of mine, Darren Kemp. He's been in quite a lot of stuff, but he's helped me with my confidence a lot. He took a risk with me. He's helped me so much, and he's literally just inspired me. And then he's put me in contact with all of these other amazing people that I've got the pleasure to work with on set. So like James, who's a director, Caroline, they're all with the best geezer. I've met Alice, she's a producer. She's absolutely lovely, like the most down-to-earth person you can meet. So yeah, I've met quite a few people because of him, and he's the reason why my career is where it is today. And I've literally got, there's no words to describe how grateful I am to him, because he's literally just helped me so much, and he's literally a fantastic friend. So
No, absolutely. It's great to have support.
yeah, definitely in this industry.
So the next one, 10, is what is your greatest achievement? And 11 was 11 is actually a funny one. What is your biggest failure?
My greatest achievement. Oh, I think my biggest failure was when at one point I was too nervous to take up an opportunity, and I let that opportunity pass me, unfortunately. And going back to what I said, this is one of the things, the reason why I turn around and say confidence is a massive thing that you need to build, because unfortunately not everybody is just blessed with it. But my greatest achievement, it's probably the first time I was ever, so far, it's the first time I ever was on set when I was filming Happy Hours. But it's going to be so surreal on the 11th of June, just to see myself for the very first time on a screen. So it's tied.
What are some of the roles that you would like to have, and what's difficult about acting for you?
Some of the roles I would like to have, I'm really into like sci-fi action. So I think I would love one day to maybe play the role of like a warrior, especially as the fact that it's very different from what I do. So it'd be nice just to expand a little bit. And what was the next question, please? Sorry.
Oh, the next one is what's difficult about acting for you?
Being able to keep on top of everything. It's a big it's a big list of what you have to do in order to kickstart your career. Confidence, as I said, that's another one. Believing in yourself, trying to stay motivated as well, especially when you get kicked down and then you've got mental health issues on top of all of that. It just sometimes, like when you're in over your head about it, like I don't know whether anybody else is, like they probably actually have. I think like quite a lot of actors experience this, but when you're trying to learn a monologue or a script or a scene, and you just, for some reason that day is just not going for you, and you keep on messing up your lines, and you just start getting frustrated with yourself. But I've learned that when that happens, you just need to take a step back, laugh, breathe, relax. It's not the end of the world. You can just retake. But yeah, I think there's a lot of difficult challenges within the acting. It's, as I said, it's not easy, but it's so worth it. It's so worth all the hard knocks and the hardships.
I agree. For me to answer the question, what's difficult about me, about being a talk show host, is I guess pronouncing people's names. For me, I can jump into any segment. I can talk, everyone says I have diarrhea of the mouth. So if I'm comfortable doing something, I can do it. But if you're going to tell me, remember this person's name and do something, yes, I can do it. It will take me a couple times to do it.
Yeah.
But if I do something at my own pace and I feel comfortable, say, hey, this is my own thing, then I can do it. But if you're gonna be like holding a gun up to someone's head, like I would say, remember the name, and it's kind of like, and it's like, no, it's gonna be horrible. But like you said, it's not the end of the world. You have to stand back and make it simple. That's why for the beginning of my talk show, I didn't do a recommendation we're gonna do at the very end. It's your way of introducing yourself and saying, hey, I was interviewed by Keith Andrew. Because once I hit that record button, it's 30 minutes or 28 minutes of your time. I don't want to take a minute or 2 minutes away from it trying to butcher someone's name and then realize, okay, I just took time away from the guest. So that's why there's the introduction, there's the recommendation, and boom, it jumps right into the interview process.
Yeah. It's probably not worse than the nicknames me and my friends have for each other, if you ever get my name wrong.
But what are the nicknames?
I don't really know if I can say on it.
Well, it's PG for it's uncensored. You can say whatever you want.
Me and my friends, we love calling each other bitches. It seems to be our favourite one. Blonde. People love calling me blonde because I can be a bit scatty from time to time. Like me and my partner, he calls me a blonde bitch, and I call him a ginger ass wipe. So
well, people say I'm an asshole.
Me and my friends and my family, we've got a very sort of banter sense of humour. We just take the mick out of each other left, right, and centre. And people, like when I'm walking down the streets with my friends, and they just get strangers looking at you like, wait, what? Like they're so confused what's going on, and me and my friends, we're just laughing, and it's just I've got that sort of relationship with everybody that I know. Like we can all just laugh and joke and take the mick out of each other, and nobody takes offence to it.
But that's the thing, you have to. It's funny to mention it in Pokemon. I was watching this with my mom yesterday and say, hey, watch this. It's funny out of content stuff. It's Team Rocket, the James would just say these things. For an example, one of the lines was when they see a Dragonite for the first time. And Jesse's like, oh, that's really a big Pokemon. And James says, I guess size really does matter. Or the other one, it was Jesse teams up with May or Mai, and James teams up with Ass and says, let's knock those women back to the Stone Age. I mean, it's a kid's cartoon, but if you're not listening to the words, it's funny. But the thing is, you sneeze the wrong way. People are gonna, bitch and moan about this, it's a joke. Like Will Smith, how he overreact with Chris Rock. It was a joke, and he laughed. And he is guilty. He laughed. If you took it seriously, he wouldn't have laughed. But he laughed, but then he looked over at his ball and chain or his kryptonite, and like, okay, now I have to go do something. No, absolutely. Now, wrapping up your show, I do have a couple questions for you off the air. If you're watching on Instagram, our new segment is Sit Down with the KeithAndrewNetWork. That will be on the air as soon as the interview is posted. But until then, it was a real honor and privilege having you as a guest. If you're watching, make sure to like, comment. Our goal for episode part 2 is to get 100 and more views. Once we do that, we can definitely do a part 2. But wrapping up, it was a real honor and privilege having you as a guest, and I can't wait for part 2. So until then, catch you later. Thank you, and have a good night.